Chapter 1. Arrival at Grayton Hall. As the carriage rolled up to the grand iron gates leading to Grayton Hall, Elizabeth Farley's heart fluttered. She peered out the window and saw the immense estate unfold before her, with its majestic towers surrounded by dense forests and gardens. The sight was awe-inspiring, yet slightly intimidating. Elizabeth had never been in such grand places before, and now, left without parents or means of support, she hoped to find a new home here. The elderly housekeeper, Mrs. Wood, greeted her at the entrance with a formal smile. Face was emotionless. Her manners were reserved. "Miss Elizabeth, welcome to Grayton Hall," she said, accepting Elizabeth's small suitcase. "I will show you to your room. Lord Henry and Mr. James are expecting you for dinner." As Elizabeth walked through the long corridors adorned with portraits of past generations of Greightons, she felt as though she were in a labyrinth. The walls seemed to whisper about old secrets, and the portraits appeared to watch her. Chapter 2. First Meeting. The dining room was large and elegant, with tall windows letting in the soft light of the evening sun. Lord Henry Grayton, a tall man with stern features and piercing eyes, sat at the head of the table. He stood as Elizabeth entered. "Lady Elizabeth, it is a pleasure to see you," he said, nodding his head. "I hope your journey was pleasant." "Thank you, Lord Henry." "Yes, the journey was pleasant," Elizabeth replied, trying to keep confidence in her voice. Mr. James Greighton, a few years younger than his brother, stood next to him. His smile was warm and friendly, which immediately attracted Elizabeth's attention. "Lady Elizabeth, I am delighted you could come," he said. "We have been looking forward to your arrival." Dinner proceeded with polite conversation. But Elizabeth felt tension between the brothers. Lord Henry spoke little, his responses short and formal. In contrast, James made an effort to entertain Elizabeth, asking her about her life in the city and her interests. Elizabeth felt that he was trying to make her stay more comfortable. Chapter 3. Mysterious Disappearances. After dinner, Elizabeth decided to take a walk around the estate. She resolved to explore the surroundings and stumbled upon a young maid, Anna, who was tidying up the old wing. Elizabeth said, "Could you tell me a bit about this place? So grand and seems to hold many secrets." Anna cast a wary glance around before responding. "Miss, this place indeed has its history, especially the old wing. I've heard that Lady Eliza, Lord Henry's first wife, once lived there. She disappeared many years ago," she whispered. "Some servants swear they've seen her shadow." Elizabeth couldn't help her curiosity. The disappearance of Lady Eliza and the ghost stories sparked genuine interest. She decided to learn more about the mysterious past of the estate. Chapter 4. An Uneasy Dinner. The next day at lunch, the atmosphere was tense. Lord Henry was in a foul mood, and even James, usually cheerful and lively, seemed troubled. Elizabeth noticed that Mr. Harrington, the young doctor who had come to the estate ostensibly to treat Lord Henry, was watching her with unusual interest. "Miss Elizabeth, how do you find our estate?" Mr. Harrington asked with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "It's wonderful, Mr. Harrington," she replied, feeling slightly uneasy. "But it also raises many questions." Lord Henry lifted his head and looked at her with a cold gaze. "There's nothing here that should trouble you, Miss Farley. Grayton Hall is a place with a rich history, but that history is not always cheerful," he said. "I would advise you to focus on the present and avoid old rumors." Elizabeth felt that her words had not reached him, but this only strengthened her suspicions. She decided she wouldn't rest until she discovered the truth. Chapter 5. Uncovering the Past. Later that evening, Elizabeth decided to explore the old wing of the estate once more, where Lady Eliza had once lived. This wing had long been disused, and the doors to it were locked. However, she found a small key in one of the bookshelves in the library. The key fit perfectly, and she managed to open the old doors. After a few steps down a dusty corridor, Elizabeth stumbled upon an old journal hidden in a damaged chest. She carefully opened it and saw that it belonged to Lady Eliza. The entries spoke of her unhappy marriage to Lord Henry, her estrangement, and a mysterious love she could not reveal. The final entry was particularly intriguing. "I can no longer endure this life. I must find a way out, even if it means risking everything." Elizabeth realized that there was more hidden here than just sad memories. She felt that Lady Eliza's story held the key to uncovering the estate's secret. Chapter 6: Unveiling the Secrets. Elizabeth began to understand that the estate concealed many secrets. She learned that Lady Eliza had been unhappy in her marriage and might have planned to escape the estate with her lover. But something had prevented her plans, and now her spirit perhaps roamed the halls of Grayton Hall. Additionally, Elizabeth started to notice strange things. At night, she heard whispers behind the walls, the creaking of doors that seemed to open by themselves, and even saw a figure in the dark. All of this made her feel uneasy, but it also ignited her determination to uncover the full truth about Lady Eliza. Chapter 7: Getting Closer to James. Elizabeth spent more time with James Greighton. He was friendly and always willing to help, unlike his brother. They often walked in the gardens, talking about literature, music, and life in the city. James showed a genuine interest in her, and Elizabeth in turn began to feel affection for her. "You seem so brave, Elizabeth," James said one day during a walk. "Not every woman would dare to explore the old wing." "I heard you found Lady Eliza's journal?" Elizabeth looked at him with surprise. How could he know about this? She decided not to reveal everything. "Yes, I found it. It was very intriguing," she replied evasively. "But I feel there's something more than just records of the past." James sighed and stopped, turning to face her. "Elizabeth, I want to tell you something. But please, don't tell anyone about this," he said, looking into her eyes. "My brother hasn't always been so cold. He changed a lot after Eliza's disappearance, but I'm not sure if he's guilty of her disappearance. I believe he's hiding something, but I don't know what." These words only intensified Elizabeth's interest in uncovering the truth. She felt that James genuinely wanted to help, but even he was trapped by the shadows of the past. Chapter 8: Confrontation and Conflict. Elizabeth decided to confront Lord Henry directly. She took the courage to approach him in the library, where he always spent his evenings reading. "Lord Henry, could I speak with you for a moment?" she asked, feeling a slight tremor in her voice. He looked up from his book and regarded her with a cold gaze. "Of course, Miss Farley. What's the matter?" he asked, showing no interest. "I wanted to talk about Lady Eliza," she began. "Her disappearance. It's been troubling me. I feel there's something we don't know." Lord Henry leaned back in his chair, his face becoming even more stern. "Miss Farley, you are too young and too curious to be meddling in matters that do not concern you," he said, trying to maintain a calm tone. "I would advise you to focus on the present and not delve into the past." Elizabeth felt that her words had not reached him, but this only strengthened her resolve. She decided not to rest until she discovered the full truth. Chapter 9: Lady Eliza's Ghost. That night, Elizabeth couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about her conversation with Lord Henry and Lady Eliza's journal. She decided to visit the old wing again to find out more. As she approached the old doors she had opened before, she thought she saw a shadow of a woman in a long dress. "Lady Eliza?" she whispered, not believing her eyes. Shadow quickly vanished, but Elizabeth decided to follow it. She walked through several dark corridors and stopped in front of an old portrait of Lady Eliza. The portrait depicted her young and beautiful, but her eyes looked sad and melancholic. Elizabeth noticed a small trapdoor in the floor that she hadn't seen before. She opened it and found stairs leading down to an underground chamber. In this chamber were old furniture, a few books, and a skeleton in a torn dress. It was Lady Eliza's body. Chapter 10: Revealing the Truth. Elizabeth was shocked by her discovery. She immediately called James, and he arrived within minutes. Upon seeing the skeleton, he was equally shocked. "Ah, it's her," he whispered, holding his head. "It's truly Lady Eliza." They realized that Lady Eliza hadn't fled as everyone was led to believe. She had been murdered and hidden in the underground chamber, which had long been neglected. Elizabeth guessed that Lord Henry, discovering her plans to escape with her lover, had killed her in a fit of rage. Elizabeth and James understood that the terrible truth could no longer be hidden. They decided to expose the crime. They wrote a letter to the authorities and detailed their discovery, hoping for justice. Lord Henry tried to prevent Elizabeth and James from revealing the truth, but his efforts were in vain. Realizing that his crimes had been uncovered and that there was no escape, he decided to end his own life. In his farewell letter, he apologized to his brother and all those he had wronged. Chapter 11, Resolution. With the truth about Lady Eliza's fate revealed, Grayton Hall was finally free from the shadows of its past. James and Elizabeth decided to start anew. They became the new owners of Grayton Hall and transformed it into a place of warmth and hospitality. They wanted to ensure that the estate would be remembered for its positive future, rather than its troubled past. Elizabeth and James married and began a new chapter of their lives together. They opened the estate to visitors, making it a place where people could find peace and inspiration. Elizabeth always remembered Lady Eliza and the suffering she had endured. She decided to keep her memory alive and share her story to remind everyone of the importance of truth and justice.